One of the biggest problems that I see all the time is muddy low end, and people don't really know how to fix it. I've literally listened to hundreds and hundreds of my students' tracks, and this is one of the biggest problems. And so I'm just going to kind of try to explain this in a way that makes a lot of sense. I used to have muddy tracks in the low end, and now I don't even worry about it. Like now I don't even do like tricks. Like everybody's trying to do this next mixing trick to fix the low end, and you do this here, and you do boost here, and you cut here, and you move this over here, and you do like this safe mono and make sure everything's in mono below 80 hertz or whatever. It just doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters because no one understands this. So obviously we have an EQ. People know this is the high end here, and then like this is the low end, right? And then everything in between here. So we understand that, right? But what people don't understand is octaves. Each one of these notes, and you guys can see this here, each one of these is representative, or each frequency is representative to a note on a keyboard, or just a note in general, right? We know that an A note is 440 hertz, and so when we hit an A note, it's like, bam, like there's 440 hertz. And so all these frequencies represent a note. And what people don't realize is that 50 hertz and 100 hertz is an octave. But you know what else is an octave? 5,000 and 10,000. Every time you double the frequency, you go up a full octave. And so this is why it becomes a problem. The difference between 50 hertz and 100 hertz doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that's a whole octave. But the difference between 5,000 and 10,000 seems like a whole lot. There's 5,000 hertz between 5,000 and 10,000. There's so much more detail in the top end. And because of that, you have so much more leeway. So much more room to fill stuff in the high end there, right? So most people's high end is not a problem. I don't hear a lot of problem in the high end. I hear a lot of problem in the mid range for sure, but specifically in the low end. And so this is where this becomes a problem. People don't understand that. And so when they start adding bass in, they're like, man, I wish my bass sounded thicker. So they're like, okay, so I have an 808. Let me add in a kick. Now the kick is like here. Right? Doesn't seem like it's that much of a difference, but the difference between 50 and 60 hertz can completely change the note. And so your low end just gets muddy and nasty because there's all of this content going on down here in between these notes. There's so much stuff there. And so usually one of the things that I do when I'm working with my students is I have them just cut the crap. Like, what do you need in the low end? You want a nice, thick, rich sounding low end. Let's not add more. Let's just get rid of the crap. We don't need it. And so one of my favorite ways to actually locate the crap and like see what's going on is first and foremost, like, what do I have in the low end? For this, the only thing that I have in the low end is I have obviously my impacts and my risers for this song. I have my drums, my kick and toms, right? And then I have the bass as well. And this has a really nice like low end to it. We'll play the chorus for a second here. Rain down, oh, the sky is falling down. Rain down. It sounds pretty good. And now here with the breakdown, it gets even fuller. And this is where the third thing is with my risers and downers. But I still have room for it. Maybe we'd be better off And because there's just not a lot going on in the low end, I have a great sounding bass, I have great sounding drums, and I have my impacts and my downers. And so one of the ways that I like to locate, like, what is the problem? If I'm getting a muddy mix and I'm not exactly sure why, what I'll do is I'll just add an EQ directly to my master bus. I'll put it at the end of the chain just so I know what I'm listening to, and then I'll add a high cut. And I heard this called the coat room trick from some EDM producers, and I absolutely loved that idea. It's like, what does my mix sound like in the coat room when people are walking into the club? I need to make sure that sounds good as well. And I've been using this ever since. And so I basically use the coat room trick, but in all other genres as well. And so what I do is I just roll off the high end, and I can just solo out certain frequencies. And once again, we can kind of get a little bit more aggressive with the octave. So instead of 24 dB over octave, we can go 36 dB over octave, and really or even 48 dB over octave, and then really just like locate certain frequencies. And so for now, let's just listen to the low end and see. Like maybe like let's keep rolling it down, maybe 200 hertz and below. If you're not listening on headphones or a good set of speakers, you're not going to be able to hear that if you're just listening on your phone speakers. But yeah, it sounds good. It sounds clean. Nothing seems to be fighting, and that's a good way. Like if you roll that off and it just feels like a flubby mess, then there's problems down there, and you need to find out what's in the low end. You need to get rid of that. We can also actually kind of get a little bit more surgical with this, and we can listen to just the mid range and see how the mid range is performing. You know, maybe like 300 hertz to 1K, like the low mids. High mids. And so I can actually locate each section of that, and I can listen to it in context. Because when you don't listen to things in context, it can kind of completely destroy a mix, right? We don't want to listen to things in solo necessarily, but we do kind of want to solo out those specific bands and see, is there anything fighting in those specific regions? Because sometimes the low end will be distracting you from listening to the mid-range and vice versa. So give that a shot, and hopefully this kind of maybe enlightened you just a little bit and realizing that the difference between 50 and 100 hertz is a full octave, and the difference between 100 and 200 is an octave, and the difference between 5,000 and 10,000 is an octave. And so because there's so little content that we have in the low end, we have to be very careful and very strategic with what we put there. If you want more from me, I do have a full free session breakdown, and you can even get the stems as well, completely for free. Link to that will be down in the description below. And if you like this channel and you like me doing this non-edited, not flashy, just giving you some seriously good stuff, please let me know in a comment so that way I know to keep making these videos. Otherwise, I'll stop it. All right. Peace out.